Hi everyone, and welcome to this video on ratios. This time we are dividing quantities in given ratios. Now, ratio problems come up all the time. We can use it in cooking, we can use it in agriculture. There's lots of different ways that we use ratios all the time. And we need to be able to divide quantities into those ratios. So for example, in agriculture, it may be a weeding or like a weed killer type supplement. It could be a fertilizer. It could be something that you're using on your sheep or your cows. In cooking, it could be ratios involving changing recipes up for different numbers of people. And we also use ratios in other ways. Okay. To do that, we need to understand that the ratio represents how many parts that are involved in a whole. Okay, so we have our whole thing that we're looking at. So it might be the whole of the particular weed killer or the particular fertilizer. And we're looking at how many parts are in that total, and we need to do that first. And then we're looking at how we're breaking those parts up to be able to have all the right amounts. Okay, so first things first, first thing we need to do is calculate the total number of parts. Calculate the total number of parts, the total number of parts that are involved in the whole thing that we're looking at with this ratio. Okay, and then what we're actually looking is what we're doing is we're actually adding all the different bits. So we're adding the different parts of the ratio. Okay, or the different amounts that are in the ratio. Okay, that'll tell us how many parts total are happening within a whole, and we can actually find out how big one individual part is. Okay, so once we have that whole amount, so we might be looking at say 10 liters of something. Once we know how many parts are in that 10 liters, we can decide how big, or we can determine how big one little part is. Okay. So this next step is we are dividing, or we're going to divide the quantity that we have. So it might be that 10 liters, it could be grams, kilograms, whatever it might be. Sometimes it's even dollars. By the total number of parts. Alright, and that is to get the value of one part. Okay? Because once we know that, we can actually find out how much is in each section of the ratio itself. Okay? And we can do that by multiplying. Alright, so our next step is a multiply. So we've added, we're dividing, and then we're multiplying each amount. Alright, so each amount that's in this ratio, so it could be 2 to 3, or 3 to 5 to 6, or something like that. Each amount of that ratio. By that result in that division, which is just the value of one part. Okay, so we're multiplying by the value of one part. So first of all, we're going to add every piece of the ratio together to get the total number of parts. Divide our total quantity, the thing that we're dividing up, by the number of parts to get the value of 1. And then we want to multiply the amounts from each of those sections of the ratio by that value of one part. Okay? Then we can check that we have done everything correctly. Alright, so check by adding again. Alright, the answers for each part, so the final amounts, the answers for each part together. They should sum to the original amount. Okay, so we've found how many parts are in our whole. We've found out what the value of one part is. We multiply that to find the volume of each section or the value of each section. And we can then check all that to make sure that each of those bits adds up to the original whole. Okay. That's the first little bit. They're all the bits and pieces, the steps that are involved in this sort of process. Let's have a look at a couple of examples, shall we? So here's our first example. Our first example there, and these examples have come from that Cambridge textbook again, the Mathematics Standard 1 textbook for New South Wales. The Cambridge book is a very good book. We've got Mikhail and Ilya, and they've been given $450. They need to share this in the ratio of 4 to 5. Okay? How much does each of those people get? Okay? So, a couple of things here to note. It's a how much question. Okay? We want to know how much Mikhail and Ilya are actually going to receive out of that $450. Okay? Now, out of that $450, we have that ratio of 4 to 5. Okay? 4 to 5. I'll make that a better colour. 4 to 5. So there's some important bits and pieces out of that question, okay, that we need. We also need to know, obviously, the total amount, okay? So over here on, down the bottom here, I'm just going to make a quick note. All right. So total is $450. The ratio is 4 to 5. Okay, so a couple of things we need to do first. We need to know that 4 plus 5 is 9. So total parts is that 4 plus 5. So it's 4 to 5. So the first section is 4, second section is 5. Whack them together, and we're going to get 9. So there's 9 parts total in this whole. Okay, the value of one part is going to be our $450, which is our total, divided by 9, which is the number of parts we have in our whole. Okay, and that is going to be $50. Hopefully this is all starting to come together for you. Next thing that we need to do is we're going to work out how much Mikhail gets and how much Ilya gets based off that ratio. Now, if you remember to the last video, we said these are in order. So Mikhail is getting the 4 parts and Ilya is getting the 5 parts. Okay? It's 4 to 5, Mikhail to Ilya. So let's look at Mikhail first. Okay? He's getting 4 parts, so he's going to get 4 lots of that $50. Okay, and you've probably figured this out by now. It's going to be $200. Alright, that's a pretty easy one right there. Okay, next we're going to find out Ilya. Okay, and she's getting that 5 parts. So 5 lots of that $50, and in this case it's going to be $250. Alright, and so now we've broken up that little total. Now I'm just going to add in, just in purple here, a therefore statement, because sometimes it's really good to include those. Okay, and we're going to have that in here. We're going to just write out Mikhail got $200. Ilya got $250. And that's that question done. Okay, that's that question done. All well and good. Done and dusted. We have one more example to have a look at. This time we're looking at another money problem. A man has left $6,000 to be divided amongst 3 children. So this has got 3 sections in it, this ratio. We've got Jia, Yu, and Z. Hopefully I've pronounced those correctly. If not, let me know. In this ratio of 5 to 8 to 7. And it's in that order. Okay. How much did each one of these kids get? Okay, so what we did before, we made a quick note. Alright, I might make it a little bit further down. Or I might make it up here actually. Alright, so the total amount is $6,000. Alright, just to remind us, yep, $6,000. We have 3 parts in our ratio. Alright, 5 to 8 to 7. And we've got another how much question. Okay, sometimes highlighting things just to know what we're doing is quite useful. Just make sure that you are highlighting the correct things though. We want to make sure that we're doing the right sections. Okay, so let's look at the total parts. Total parts, well, that's going to be 5 plus 8 plus 7. 5 plus 8 plus 7. And if you're adding that up at home, we're going to get 20. Okay, that's going to be 20. The one part, which is our next bit, and I've just marked that up just a little bit. One part is going to be our $6,000. So remembering that our $6,000 is our total. So 6,000 divided by 20. Okay, 6,000 divided by 20. Following along at home or wherever you may be, that's going to be $300. So one part is $300. All good. Okay. Now we've got to go through those kids and work out. So again, I'm hoping I get this pronunciation right. Jia, Yu, and Z will get 5, and then 8, and then 7. All right, with Yu getting the most. So let's get started. All right, so Jia, and I apologize to anyone if I am pronouncing these names incorrectly, is 5 lots of 300. And in this case, that is going to give us 1,500. Okay, then we've got our middle child, who is getting 8 parts, so 8 times 300. And that is going to give us 2,400 or 2,400. And then we've got our last child, who's getting 7 lots of that 300. Okay, and that's going to be 2,100. So far, so good. We've all worked that out. Now, I did say before that it is possible to double check all this. So we can add these together to see if we actually get to the $6,000. So we can go 1,500, 2,400, 2,100. Add all that up. Obviously, we've got 2 lots of 0 here. We've got 5 and 4, which is 9 plus 1, which is 10. Chuck that over there. We've got 2, 4, 5, and 6. We have done our sums correctly. All right, matches up the total. So yay, big tick. And then we can write out our sentence response. Our little therefore sentence. Okay, and I'll just write this out. And there we go. Oops, sorry about that. Alright, so that's how we divide quantities in given ratios. We can do that no matter how many parts we have in the ratio. They could be 2, 3, 4, however many there is. Just follow those 4 basic steps. Find the total number of parts, find the value of one part, often referred to as the unitary method, and then just multiply however much is in each section of the ratio by the value of that one part, and you'll get what you need. Thank you very much, and good luck with your questions.